Good evening, folks. It's Poms from Palatrax down in deepest North Devon. The rain has been thrashing down and the wind has been beating. What's it like in the rest of the country? To be fair, I was going to go fishing today, and I should have gone fishing today in hindsight. But I was writing a feature for Catchmore Fish, and I got carried away, and I carried on writing and stopping and starting. So, yeah, the rods never came out. Fingers crossed, this is going to work tonight. I say is start every live feed, kick off with, I hope this is going to work. I see some little faces or little eyes popping up. Will the comments? That is the, oh, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. That is not a good start. Why can't I do this? Honestly, I wait every Sunday to do my live feed, and then the comments don't work. And then another time, they do work. Oh, it's working now. It's now working. Trevor, Ian, Ryan, good evening to you all. Good evening. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. Apparently, I've got a slow connection, it's telling me. I knew that already. That's nothing to do with the internet. It's just to do with me. Evening, Palm. Hope you're well as fellow anglers. That's from Darren. Good to see you, Darren. Charlie, how you doing, mate? James, good evening, sir. Matthew Rice, yes, me and Matthew were doing some filming yesterday, and I showed him my sexy M&S voice, and I don't think he's ever forgotten it. Scarred for life. So, yeah, we'll let a few people bob in, and then we'll career off wherever this live feed takes us. I don't know, because I'm not very well prepared. So, I've got a few questions, but if you've got any more questions you'd like to shout out, don't be shy. Don't be shy, we're amongst friends here. You'll only get a decent civil answer, unless you ask the same question time after time and just still keep on getting the same answer. But no, there we go. Keith Powell has just put up, our illustrious editor for Catchmore Fish. There's the link to new Catchmore Fish magazine. If you haven't seen it, do have a read. Lots of hard work by Keith and others going into it. Hey up, Mick. Good evening, Colin. And also, please, if you press the link and go to it, please do share it amongst family and friends. We are very keen to get it out and about. It seems to be going down very well, but obviously we want to grow the readership, get bigger readership, the more kind of competitions and things like that I can do. So, all good. Good evening. That's Tracy and Peter. They fished here recently. We'll see them again in the new year. Hope you're well, you guys. I'm still recovering. Matthew's still recovering from a thing. So, I'll kick off with the first question, and then I'm going to talk to you about fishery rules. So, because it's something that I've been writing about today, and I thought it would be good to cover within our family group here, and that will be interesting. So, Rod Cherrett has sent me a message. Darren Cottrell, hi from you and Kim. Hope you guys are well. So Rod's asked me, need any advice as I can't buy a bite lately? And it's easy for me to say, but also I believe it totally. Just look at how me and Matt have been. Evening Glyn, evening Dave Clifford, good to chat the other day, mate. Just look at how we're fishing down here, and this stone system, it's so simple, it really is. I don't know if I've got one set up here. Let me have a quick look, see. No, I haven't, but it is such a simple system. Go on to Catchmore Fish TV, my YouTube channel, and just look for fully loaded stone system, and you can see how we adapt it. We only use a couple of rigs. The main emphasis is on location. You can't catch nout if it's nout there, and also the quality of the bait and the way you prepare the bait and the way you swap the bait around, very much like the match angler, fly angler, sea angler, but ironically not particularly like what is promoted within the carp industry, which is all about the jingly jangly, nothing about simplified and unobtrusive, and then there's nobody talking about the quality of bait. So bonjour Ian, Donald, good evening, Richard, good evening, Steve, how are you doing, Al Jackson, John Fincham, good evening, all of you, thanks for popping in. So yes, Rod, if you're watching this or watch it back on playback, this is how we fish. I mean, I know it's always going to sound contrived. I don't really know what to say, because I'm not going to change now, not because I'm bloody minded or anything, but we're fishing on gamma line, for example. Unfortunately, it's out of stock at the moment. Hi, Rob. coming back in stock in a couple of weeks' time. So we fish that because it comes from the Tennis Stream market. We fish a running stone. We don't go down the route of all of these jingly jangly stuff like some of the stuff the companies are fishing on. It's so obtrusive, so ungainly, and any match angler worth their salt will tell you go become unobtrusive. Get on the naturals from Charlie. There you go. Use naturals. You know, I could, hi Simon, I could be really contrived, couldn't I? I said, oh, the only way. There you go, Rod, I'm just talking about you, mate. Your ears are burning. Just saying, get on the stone system and how we fish it, you know, wrap that method mix around it. This time of year, whacking gamma shrimp into it to make it explode. You might have seen the films I've done historically. Evening, Jason. And, it is really that simple. And again, I will plug it, but not because I've got some contrived agenda, because I'm quite open about it. You know, the pre-drilled reactors, as we call them, from the reactive range, these 80mm squabs that are different flavours. All we're doing is, Matt's had great success, to be quite honest, on the hemp versions that are soaked in hemp oil as well. But I've been doing quite well on the cranberry, and we're not really fishing a lot, but we're fishing bends, which is particularly difficult compared to the other waters. Yeah, I mean, that's the new range, the new reactive range. And so what we're doing, we're fishing the method like we normally do, either the weed rig or the sting link rig. And then we're, like the fly angler would do, like the match angler would do, like I keep on saying, we're changing the bait. We're not changing the rigs. The rigs work. You know, there's so many variables around rigs. The industry's grabbed hold of rigs and it's complete confusion out there. I see rigs that come down here that the chance of catching a fish, and I'm not being rude, I'm you know, no pain, no gain kind of thing, but they're just not going to catch consistently. So we've got those two rigs that catch consistently. Hi Robert, good evening, hope you're well. And you know, then what we do is we change the baits, especially this time of year. We're not putting a lot of food in. We're being very, very, very precise where we put our baits. Matt likes doing the washing line. That's too complicated for me, but I think those little edges work, especially this time of year. But we're just putting out that sample of food within the Daphne maggot or the carp crush, say exploding it. Because if you when you've got cold water conditions, things break down a lot. Hi John, a lot kind of slower. And by putting the gamma shrimp in there, which I do have some, because Tilly was taking his photographs, hopefully you'll be able to see it. That's gamma shrimp. So it's very, very much like a native shrimp. Because it's got a skeleton in there and an air content to the skeleton, that means when you put it in with the ground bait, it agitates the mix and then bash, out it goes. And then you're getting it in sterile water, you're getting up and down and around, and the mix is breaking down, and all the attraction within it is getting out. Because that's one thing people don't realise necessarily. If it's like a sterile bait and you put it out there, and you come back in an hour later or 2 hours later or whatever, and it's still in the same shape and it hasn't started to break down in any way, how can everything that's meant to be inside, how can it get out? Which is why in the winter bling baits really, really do have impact. But also, like Charlie was saying, you know, things like maggots, you shouldn't dismiss them. It'd be very easy for me to kind of hide away from that. I'm just going to try and get a gamma shrimp up here. Let me stick it on. Let's just see if you can see this little fella. Is that not going to work? I don't think it's going to work. Oh, where are I? No. Anyhow, it's a little shrimpy thing, and full of natural food source, but yeah, really good. And that's what we do. This time we went do it all year round. What's Charlie say? I can vouch for the new reactive range, so much user friendlier than the glug baits, as hard as nails, leak for days, and don't need to be swapped every bite unless needed. I mean, you know, this is the thing. I know it sounds a bit strange again from somebody who runs a bait company. The good thing about Palatrax, I believe, or I know, should I say, that's not with any arrogance, is because of the purity of everything and how it's been designed, you don't need to use a lot. You know, we're fishing for bites. Yes, we're putting out various product to hold fish into the swim and draw fish into the swim. But like I say, all we'll be using really this winter, aside from looking at naturals like worms and maggots, is we'll be using the reactive range. We'll be chopping and changing it. You know, there's various things you can do with it, but what you're looking for is to get that, it's that knee-jerk reaction. It's like I'm sitting there, fat as a sparrow, can't eat anything, but you wave that wafer thin mint in front of me, I'm going to eat it. And that's really where the reactive range comes in. You're looking for that knee-jerk reaction. They're not really hungry. They're not really moving. But suddenly there's something, and it's an instinct bite. And it's an instinct because of the flavours. And that's the incredible thing. You could be sat there on a flavour. Let's just say you're on cranberry. You haven't caught anything. Think, right, okay, I'm going to change up to pineapple now. So you change your rods across to pineapple. That's what I tend to do. I tend to put all 3 out and see if I get a reaction. And then if not, I'll put 3 out of another one. And then suddenly pineapple, for whatever reason, starts working. And you catch fish on it, and there's no rhyme or reason. You can't interpret why it's happening. What is the difference from that flavour? But it definitely works. Definitely works. One thing I'm not doing a lot of is using, the pre-drilled 70mm hemp pellet. Well, they're the pellets, so they can't course 15% oil content pellet, but they're all been pre-drilled. And the reason they're pre-drilled, as is the reactive range, is we use products. And so we buy products like drilled, pellets with holes in them. But that's drilled. There's a hole in these pellets for, literally for breakdown. It's got nothing to do with hair rigging. So we're going the other way. We're actually getting a product that's got the value that we want, and then we're drilling a hole through it. It's a bit of a pain. It's a bit of a long thing for people to do down here, but you end up getting something that you want, if that makes sense, not that they want you to want. I don't know if that makes sense, but the thing is, if it's just got a hole in it for fish farming purposes, like a halibut pellet, that's got nothing to do with what you should be using. So there we go. Right, where I've missed loads of comments already. Must try the react. Yeah, honestly, Glenn, it's not a joke. It's good evening, Tony. It's genuine. Do you know if there are any problems with transmission? You keep breaking up and watching on Facebook. Michael, you seem to be the only one. I don't know if anybody else is having any problems. Sometimes I get a problem down here because I'm in deepest, darkest Devon, and when it's blowy and stormy, and our fibre optic is across land, it's on posts. But I think you seem to have a problem at your end. So check out your connection. That's all I can say, Mike. I'm no techie. I do apologise. Anybody else has got ideas for Michael, please let him know. Obviously, to you, Pom, don't use in your stones coating. Why don't you use in your stones coating? Obviously, to you, Pom, why don't you use in your stones coating glugging? Ian, you keep on doing this to me. Are you asking why I don't glug my stones? Well, I do sometimes. You can glug. Obviously, they're because of their porous makeup, they will hold a flavour. So anything you can get attracting is worth. I suppose the irony to that is there's also an alternative, which could be that because it's man-made, because it's super boosted, they could move away from it. That is the potential as well, but you'll never ever get it 100% right. Andre, all the way from Slovakia. Good to see you here, my friend. Rod, I'm really looking forward to trying this reactive range. Yeah, you'll catch fish after fish on the same bait. You can take it out and you can put it back into the pot. It is a food source bait, but it's obviously, as explained earlier, it's got a hole in it, and the liquid that it's put into does harden it as well. So I'm really pleased with it. It's been something I've been playing around for years, but when I discovered a certain product I could actually do what I'm now doing with it, it's even better. What's this saying? Where we are? Placed a big order. That's very kind of you, John. Darren John, this morning ordered the new bucket combos in reactive range, including the hemp ones and my favourite method mix plus extra. Can't wait. Well, that's good to hear. Obviously, we do want to see anglers using it for lots of different reasons, and mainly because I've just got complete faith in it. Those new bucket combo deals, I think they're really well. I know they're really good value for money. It's not all about making huge amounts of profit, and I think you'll be very, very happy with the reactive range. Honestly, Rob, it's you gotta go. Rod's saying he's break his banking streak. Just look at that way. Right, okay, how do I say this? I'm not here sitting to say I'm some wonderful angler. I don't fish for that. I fish for the enjoyment, the camaraderie, the mental health benefits, the excitement of catching, the challenge, all those kind of things. But I have got this OCD way of looking at everything, and the reason I fish, and all I can do is draw you to conclusions. The reason I fish like the way I fish is because in essence, I've done all the heavy lifting, and most of the heavy lifting is actually to get rid of all the jingly jangly stuff they're selling you. Because don't forget, all of these brands, when you see their films, and it's marketing, it's business, I understand that, but they're actually telling you to buy something. So I think, like me, I was saying, just use a stone, running with a buffer bead and a really good rig, and then just focus on bait, but don't focus on lots of bait, just focus on quality of bait. And that's all we do. And, I know I'm fishing as unobtrusively as possible. Bite detection wise, I'm really, really fishing. I'm fishing tight lines like the match angler. I'm not saying I would never fish a slacker line, but 99% of the time I'm fishing a tight line. And the trouble is what you've got in modern angling, you've got so many people telling you so many different things. All I would suggest is start off back at base zero. So you need good quality bait, you need a proven rig. I suggest if you can use a natural fishing weight instead of a man-made, especially toxic one, you don't really want to go down there. And then it's about putting it in the right place. And you can be really confident. I never go fishing, of course every now and again we blank, but I never, and you could say, oh, it's your waters. And again, I can understand that cynicism, but that doesn't mean anything. I've just got to go out there when I can get a couple of hours here or there. But I take exactly the same system, whether it's abroad, whether it's horseshoe over here or wherever, and the results speak for themselves. It's because I'm taking a simple, effective system. I'm not listening to all this stuff, all this chatter from the trade. You've got to use this rig. I saw a rig today and a setup, and I won't mention the brand, but I've never seen anything so obtrusive. And you're just thinking, these are brand leaders, these are massive influencers, and they're not saying anything about how man-made and obtrusive things are, because they're saying it's green so the fish can't see it. It's like me saying, that's green, I can't see that. Well, of course I can. It's there. And fish sense things. So it is frustrating for me to see anglers running around like headless chickens in some ways, and really not getting the best out of angling. I believe all of us would like to catch more fish, and it isn't that difficult. If you do the key things right and you are consistent and say where I can kind of defend my position, not that I'm trying to defend it, I'm trying to help, but where I can defend my position is you only got to look at the match angler. I just fish like the match angler, and they fish for results, and that's what we're doing. And I know why we're catching fish, and it's not about being a mega skilled angler or anything like that. I know my way about angling, and I've done a lot of fishing both in boats and fly fishing and match fishing and over these centuries, but don't believe it's difficult, because it isn't. But if you follow a lot of the mixed trends within angling, you cannot. Well, with inconsistency comes one thing: inconsistency. Whereas I'm fishing consistent and I get consistent results, and that is not said with any arrogance. So there you go, Rod, from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Good evening, Mr. Shaw. Keith Powell, any comps in this one? You're talking about catchable fish, I think, Rich. Yeah, there's eight every month. There's 8 competitions, different competitions in catchable fish, and we're going to be having even more brands getting involved next year. So yeah, no problems for me in Morton, the centre of England. Oh, is that the radio waves or whatever? No problem tonight. Beautiful as ever. Thank you. I know. Mixed oil out of that. Beautiful. Darren, lots of bait companies still insist in halibut products. Totally blows my mind. It's a sea fish, and the fish we probably aim for fresh water. Yeah, Darren, you've got a huge point. I've been there. I've made the mistakes back, certainly in the old days, 26, 77 years ago. We were using trout pellet. I had a lake with trout in it, and so I could access trout pellet easily. Lots of oil content, high attract, all that stuff. But a trout, and like a halibut, they have a stomach, and the stomach is designed for particular things to be able to digest and draw nutrients, etc., etc. We have stomachs. Cows have 2 stomachs, all that kind of thing. Carp and coarsefish don't. They have a digestive tract. It's a tube. And literally, as food goes through, it draws it out through the walls of the digestive tract into the body for the body to consume, and then obviously excess passes through. And halibut pellet is for halibut. It's like giving a dog chicken feed because a chicken's got feet and the dog's got feet kind of thing. Just because they're under, this is, I mentioned this I think last week, you know, we've got this kind of swayed opinion. If you think about everything on land, that's got legs, okay? And therefore think about all of the different foods that these different creatures eat. You know, whether it's a spider, whether it's a mouse, whether it's a, you know, you go on, there's thousands and thousands of different things with feet on. It's exactly the same underwater, but they just haven't got feet, they've got fins. And so they've got different needs, different wants, and that's why I've always said, you know, promoted understanding the biology of your quarry, you're going to catch more fish. But I'm with you, Darren, why these accredited companies are actually peddling something that is really not good quality for fish. Yes, it catches fish, it attracts fish, it draws fish in, fish will pick up and things like that, but it's not good for them. And the trouble is, if you get anglers, especially on fisheries like mine, which tend to be obviously a lot smaller than a bigger fishery, you put too much of that in, so you have anglers coming in, you know, every day, and some put a couple of kilos, others put 5 kilos, and then suddenly you've got like, you know, 100 kilos a week going into a swim, and then you get the problems, and that's the problem. And you know, very much about when I talk about rules in a minute, everything I've done is focused on safe fishery management and protection of water quality. We shouldn't be fishing with stuff that isn't for the fish. You know, we go on about fish safety all the time, don't we? But sometimes we're not doing it. The industry's telling us a different story. And I get shot down in frames sometimes because I'm just saying, well, look, you know, it's a fact. We can sit there and judge and jury. Should we be giving coarse fish, sea fish, food? It's a simple yes or no. You know, and any fishery owner with his worth his salt, or any fish farmer will go, of course not. Of course not, because you'll have all of these different, oh, that comes from hell, all these all these different dogs are flying out. Yeah, all these different things and the impacts that you can have by using the wrong ingredients, because when it comes out as a toxin. So Galen, all the way from Canada, good to see you, my friend. Hope your family are well. Steve Bryan, is it snowing yet, Galen? Ashley, no worries at all, Ashley, we're here. Who else have I missed? Chelsea, how you doing? Sorry, what have I missed? I ordered a new tracking t-shirt this evening, can't wait to get it. Oh, Wally's wearing out now. Shout out for the Print Biz, they're our clothing partners. You will get a team discount on those, and I think you'll like the quality, Chelsea. It's very good. Hi, Glenn, sorry for being late, just finished my dinner. Hopefully it was something lovely. All I've got is a cider here. Hi, Paul. Watching the local fireworks. Is it fireworks night? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. All I know is I'm 59 this month, which is not good. Anthony, how you doing? Donald is laughing at Ashley. Everyone's been cauterised. Well, to be quite honest, and I'm not here to knock brands, but the trouble is, if you look at all the major brands, they're all basically replicating each other. And this is not about having a go. Like I say, I will have a go when people are dropping toxic lead or using baits that are damaging the environment, the fish, the water quality. But these brands have decided through their own business models to basically replicate each other. So therefore everybody is basically replicating each other and therefore replicating results. And the one thing I can say with, you know, 30 years of fishery ownership and consultancy, and one thing is there's an awful lot of time being spent on the bank with awful lot of blanks, and it doesn't need to be. You know, why are we not being told to focus on bait ingredients? That's a question I can ask anybody here. You know, why are you not focusing on it? Or you might be. I mean, I didn't for the first 2 years of my carp fishing until it hit me around the head like a cricket bat hitting around the back of the head. I'm thinking, why am I not looking at the nutritional value, the protein content? What's it actually going to do? Is it going to attract fish, or is it going to repel fish? All these kind of questions that went through my mind and have taken me to where I am now. I fish simply, but I do put that emphasis on bait. And old tactics never broke. People, you know, look down their nose at me because I fish the method like it's some kind of idiot. I hate the word noddy, but, you know, that comes out every now and again. And It doesn't make any sense, because at the end of the day, I was saying to Matt yesterday, if you think about it, obviously Corda and Ash and Fox, these are big companies, well-known companies, European-wide companies. Palatrax is just little old Palatrax doing what we're doing. But we catch a huge amount of fish on the products. You know, we really, really do. And I would say an inordinate amount of fish. If you replicate the stone system and how we're fishing it, you just replicate the results. You know, I've got so many examples. Rod, next week I'll be in give another go. Well, Rod, honestly, you can always phone me. You always touch base with me. Don't blank. You don't need to blank. Obviously, it's going to get a little bit more difficult in the winter, but if you get it right in the winter, I've had some cracking winter results on all kinds of different species. Not catfish, though. Right, sorry, where are we going? Most times I just keep throwing out my trusty 7-gram Toby and get something exactly, Jason. It's not all about carp. I see the Lady of Palatrax on the front cover. Oh, where is it? I say, well done, Tinny. Yes, she's a little bit of, she hides away. She just poked her head out the door there and said, "I'm no lady." Yeah, well, you certainly aren't. We know that. Yeah, no, she hardly fishes, but when she does fish, she seems to grab all the biggies. Puts me to shame. Puts me to shame. Charlie Barker, what are you saying here? For me, the question I ask myself is, when I blank, I do have confidence in my rigs? Do I have confidence in my bait? Was I consistent, and did I put the effort? If the answer is yes to all of those questions, then it's just one of those things. There's days when it's wasn't meant to be, especially if you're species specific. You know, if you look at like the feeding patterns of fish, and it's great having your own fishery and being able to go out there consistently, because you can see how it works. And I saw this at my first fishery, Pallington. You know, how fish, you know, nobody would catch. So we're talking carp fishing now in this instance. Nobody would catch on the whole complex for 24 hours. 3 different lakes, you know, 20 odd acres of water. Oh, no, 14 acres of water, sorry. And then suddenly, out of the blue, like you'd hear alarms going off all around the fishery, people would be getting double runs. And if you're not there in that window, it's very, very difficult to catch those fish because they're just not feeding. I always equate it, if you look at a field and you go past a field and it's got a load of cows in it, most of the time they're just sitting down chewing the cud. Then every now and again, you'll get the odd fat one like me wandering around munching all day long. But then as one, they tend to get up and then they start feeding. And it's very much like shoalfish, you know, they feed as one. And so if you're not in that feeding spell, and that's why the reactive baits work really well when they're kind of in that moribund state, you know, they just get a reaction, which is what it's about. Charlie, but I've had that for the last, being a right brain boggler. I couldn't have done any more. Well, like I say, we've kind of cut through. Like you say, you might not agree with me, which is fine. Snowed on Friday in Canada. But all I can say is I'm you know, so keen to catch. I hate blanking. I just hate blanking. God, being warned. Sorry, I'm rabbiting away. Right, live feed draw tonight. So you've got to send yes, to send the word yes to my personal Simon Pomeroy Facebook Messenger page. That makes sense. Anybody doesn't understand, but it's got to be to the Simon Pomeroy Facebook message page. So drills and baiting needles, one of the super boosters, really good this time of year as well. You can basically over flavour baits, put them in a bag, spray some of this gumbo in there, give them a good shake, let them dry off, and you get really, really high smelling. And the clove oil within that is definitely a attractor. Courtesy of Keith, because Keith's been playing around with stickers. A couple of nice little stickers there for you. And it will never be a live feed without a couple of packets of the wonderful grips in the straight points tonight. So if you'd like to be in with a chance of winning that, all you've got to do is ping yes to Simon Pomeroy's Facebook Messenger page, and we will draw that towards the end. Now, whilst I'm on there, I'm missing... Let me just see if I've... missed any there. So snowed in Canada on Friday. What's done discount, etc. So that's Chelsea talking about clothing. I wore my Palatrax hoodie to a local lake on Saturday and started chatting to some bloke about Pallington, the good old days. There you go. You see, many moons ago when I was a lot thinner. I'm still good looking now, but I was just a lot thinner. Don't write off fishing mid-water. Exactly. We were talking about that the other day. So many people focus just on the deck, and I've caught so many fish on the surface in the winter. Feel a lot of brands are turning it into camping, not fishing, with things that bring out. It's funny you should say that, Glenn. I mean, and again, I'm not here to. All I want is people to enjoy fishing and all of the benefits that come with it. But I think, you know, it's changed so much in the last 30 odd years. Where it's now, you know, you see new products being brought out. It's like a new thermal mug or a new this, or nothing about underwater that's actually going to help you catch more fish. They seem to have set the stall out, and that's it, you know, and there is no room for improvement. And obviously I'm all about trying to either innovate or improve on the norm. And it is a bit of a shame, you know, these companies with big pockets, you know, deep pockets, and the ability to field test and really go into things, that they just seem to, whether I'm right, this is my interpretation, they just seem to have settled on their laurels now, and everybody's doing the same thing, and the results speak for themselves. And it's a very skewed, you know, you see the influencers, but these folks, they're sitting on the bank 24/7. They get all their stuff free. They get, you know, don't have a mortgage or a house or anything, and so they appear to catch a lot of fish. And so it's a very skewed vision. It's very, you know, and we need to be careful of that. You know, we need to be very, very aware that filming can be scripted and it can be manipulated. We've only got to see what with AI now. It's incredible. So, yeah, I agree with you. It does seem to be going more down that camping route than anything else, which is fine if that's what people want. But as an angler, myself, an obsessive angler, I want more than that. What's Rob saying here? Great that you're all chatting away to me here. The Stones method is really no different to using PVA bags, which is now it is, you see. It's totally different. I'm going to give you a hard time, Rob, when you come down next time. Different Stones is natural and obtrusive, and Daphne Maggot Crush is also full of natural carp food. I will continue to use the system for those reasons. But it is, honestly, Rob, and again, I'm not being funny here, but the trouble is with the PVA bag, it has its limitations. Now, I know people that say, right, you know, I use the PVA bag, you know, that's my approach. And my first question is but what's in it? Because again, it's a bit like the method. I use the method, but what's it made of? And that's the important thing. Now, the trouble is, and I'm not saying that PVA bags don't work, they won't give me the same as what the method was. They won't allow me to manipulate a mix, like a wet mix as well, so I can have different ingredients that you won't be able to add to a PVA bag. But also I know that when it hits the deck, that method ball, if I've mixed it correctly for that time of year or conditions, it will stay there dissolving. Whereas obviously with the PVA approach, there's so many people doing so many things, using different pellets, using, you know, God knows what, putting different holes in their bags, using different size bags. Again, there is a consistency, but also an inconsistency to it. But it shouldn't, I promise you, it really shouldn't be treated as the same as the method. Because if you've got a good quality method mix, you can use all these wet ingredients in it that you just can't put within a PVA bag. So, there we go. Don't know if air pressure plays a part. I always find settled conditions bring consulting. I believe. I guess that's Ian Chilcock. Yeah, but without a shadow of doubt, you know, if you've got consistent weather, you get consistent fishing. Even if it's consistently cold, there will be a stage where it becomes more consistent. You know, prevailing winds, like I say, air pressure. We don't necessarily fully understand it through different waters, but there's definitely something there. And if you've got that consistent weather, you know, for me in the winter, warm and wild in the southwest, it's almost like you're pretty up for a bite. But if it's coming from the northeast, it's cold and it's swirling, then, you know, I'm not saying you won't catch a fish, because, you know, if you've got one in the water, you've always got a chance, haven't you? But definitely. Would you use bait boosters or maggots and casters? Without a shadow of doubt, Ian. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's all about attraction, isn't it? So anything you can add, it can only be worth experimenting. That's what I always say. You know, I've done lots of different things with the powders, you know, where you can use the powders on maggots. It's probably sounds a bit horrible, but, you know, if you put maggot powder on maggots, they seem to really stimulate them, things like that. So, certainly not worth, not don't think you can't do it. Grips trebles. Jason's saying, good evening, Stephen. How you doing? Well, sir. Don't start palm off on PVA method feeder debate. No, I'm not trying to be bloody minded. It's all about the ingredients. If you've got fantastic ingredients in your PVA bag, but I just have people time and time again say, well, it's pellets. And you go, well, yeah, but pellet's not made by an ingredient called pellet. And I don't want to come across as condescending or ignorant in any way, shape or form. But these are the kind of things that I think create confusion. Because we just talk about, halibut pellet. Should you really be using halibut pellet? Or are you better off if you're fishing for carp using classified accredited carp pellet? Well, I know what I'm going to use, but then different sizes, different breakdowns, all these different things come into it. Whereas I know with my method mix, I know the ingredients, I know the breakdown rates because I can adapt it, manipulate it, things that I couldn't just do with a PVA bag. But each to their own. If you're into PVA bags, there's no doubt they're a successful tactic. Personally, in my experience, I used to fish with PVA bags. They're just not as effective because I can't get the ingredients I want in, and I can't get the breakdown rates I want because I need water to do that. Charlie's saying, what I like about the method is that I'm more inclined to recast should I have miscast. Good point. So you used to fill out PVA, fluff it up and not recast. Exactly. We can, can't we? Let's all admit to it. We can be very lazy anglers. And so you spend all this time setting out, making your PVA bag, getting it, and then you miss the spot. Or a fish rolls somewhere else and you think, oh, should I really put a bait on that? Whereas with the method, it's so easy peasy lemon squeezy, and it's so effective. So you're very right there to point that out, Charlie. That's a good point, because we can be lazy and we can say, oh, it took me all that time to get that bag in place, and I'm probably the worst for it or the best for it. I'm happy to, as soon as I see a fish roll somewhere else I haven't got a bait to, I'll be reeling in and blobbing my stone with more method mix and hoofing it out, and it's just so easy to do. So yeah, good point. Right, so what I'm going to do first of all, folks, because already I've waffled away. Hold on. No, don't worry, Michael. I'm not, saying don't want to affect your sales. It's, if you really truly knew me, Michael, it's not all about that. I've got my own little agenda for my own little reasons. So don't want to affect your sales, but anyone interested in flavouring baits, get hold of Archie Braddock's book, all about this. Very, very old school, totally old school. A bit like John Baker and people like that. These are old school people. These are people that I learnt off, to be fair. They're before bait became mega commercialised. And if you look at like my flavour house, which is so different than many other flavour houses, it's because it's using old school stuff. Sorry, I had to have that. Right, I'm just going to turn my camera around, because the first thing is our team exclusive competition. If you're a new member here, basically every other Sunday, so on the live feed for the team page, we have the team competition, which normally I put up on a Monday or Tuesday, and we draw it on the live feed, on the Sunday live feed. So that is the prize. And let me grab the winner. I do not know either myself, but the winner is Tim Byrne. I haven't seen you here tonight, Tim, but we will find you. We will track you down, and you've won that bunch of goodies. Bunch of goodies there for you, sir. So well done. So watch out over the next 24, 48 hours. I will put up the next team exclusive competition. And just to remind, let me turn back again. If you want to enter the live feed draw for tonight, the prize is some grips, some stickers, baiting needle and tools, drills, and some booster. All you've got to do is send yes through to my Facebook page, so my private Simon Pomeroy Facebook page, and somebody will get drawn in about a quarter of an hour. Ian saying, is fishing a washing line setup not similar to fishing a slackline? No, totally different way of fishing, Ian. The man to really speak to you about it is Matt, because Matt's designed some other stuff. But basically you're fishing a tight line to the two basic bank stick on wherever you're going to be fishing. So normally, like if you look at Ben's pool, so we're fishing across to the far bank. So you go over there, you cast your bait over, then you use a small little gizmo on top of the bank stick, and then you just literally put your bait right into the margin, and then you tight line it to the bank stick. And so what happens? The fish picks up, it pulls out the clip. You get a drop back because you're fishing tight line. Then you'll not get a run off a washing line. You will just get a drop back. And say so many people ignore drop backs. I mean, I caught a fish the other day. I only had 2 or 3 beeps, and that was enough for me, and it was on. So very, very much different tactic. It's a very good tactic because it's laboursome, it takes some time to get it right and that lot, but I tell you what, on its day it's unbeatable because basically you've got no line going through the water whatsoever. So for bite detection it's better. For not giving off, I'm convinced as much as I can be, basing it on what I've done and assumption. You put lines in the water, they change the water pressure. Do they hum? Do they give off a physical signal because they're in the water? Suddenly you remove it, you're so much better off. So there you go. The opposition can keep the bags. We've got balls, stones. So any other questions as we're going through? I think I've covered that. Where's the right? Yeah, right. So don't forget to enter the competition because we've only got, what is it? Oh gosh, only 20 minutes left. So what I was going to do, and actually a question from Rich Shaw here, it kind of overlaps because I'm not feeling sorry for myself, far from it. I'm very lucky. I'm very rich in my family, and I've got beautiful boys, beautiful wife. My parents are still alive, all these kind of things. I'm not on this planet to earn pockets of gold. That's not my intention. As long as we've got enough to keep food on the table, and keep reinvesting in Palatrax and growing it. That's a big passion of mine because I know we can do so much more if we get to the next level and beyond. And to be fair, hi Adrian. Adrian's saying he's glad to be on board. Welcome aboard, sir. Welcome aboard. Any questions, always feel free to shout out, my friend. So when it came to, and so what I do causes controversy. And the irony is, it's not designed to cause controversy. It's designed to be light bulb moments. The stones being a particular thing, or the grips, or gamma line, or, how to make baits and bait shapes and all these kind of things. And I'm not different because I'm bloody minded. I'm different because I don't get, I've got a factory, it's got machinery in that will only make baits round because the machinery makes it round. It's not because the machine's been designed to make it round. It's just the cheapest, most easiest shape to make in bulk. So why do I want to fish on a round shape? And therefore, all of these questions, I've looked at all these different areas of fishing, and I've come up through research and all the things. It's a bit like, lead. Lead's toxin. Forgetting anything else, it is, but the industry says it isn't, or doesn't tell us the truth on that, and I can't get my head around that because the environment is our key thing that we should be looking after, and so I find it disappointing. And so I've gone through over the years, and I fish on stones not because it's non-toxic, because if it wasn't non-toxic, I'd fish on, or I didn't have access to stones. I fish on a nut with a hole drilled in it and a swivel affixed. I don't believe, fishing weight is a fishing weight. We don't need all this stuff, in my humble opinion. But if you want to buy into it, that's fine. As I say, I've got nothing against it, but I have got against dropping lead and rubbish bait because I've had my own issues with that kind of thing. But when I came to the fishery, my thing that started me off on this whole journey, many of you might or might not know, is, but I had, unfortunately, on my first venue, Paddington Lakes, I had quite a big fish kill. And I still feel to this day, because only I can take responsibility, it still, impacts on me in a negative way mentally. But and what it did do, I lost 157 carp that we know of. There would have been more that didn't pop up or one thing or another. And it really impacted me because you're sitting there going, well, what have I done? Why is this happening? And I was trying to do everything as I could. But what I believed, and I'm not saying there's not good bait companies out there. I'm not saying that at all. That's not my bag. But there is a lot of bait companies out there that aren't regulated, aren't using the kind of ingredients that I believe we should be using in the natural environment. So hence I decided, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, let's make our own baits. And it was purely as a fishery management tool. There was nothing about Palatrax going any further than making baits for the people that came down in the fishery. So they had really good quality baits, caught more fish. And that's what started my whole journey. So I started looking at everything and anything. Sorry, there's a couple of questions. I'll come back to those in a minute, folks. I'm in full flow at the moment. So basically everything I looked at doing and continue to look at doing is to improve us from an angling performance point of view, but also make sure we're safeguarding the environment for future generations to come. And I think both of those are very important, kind of cornerstones of what Palatrax stands for. But by looking to improve, you're going up against the status quo. You're going up about industry saying, well, we've got 2 hook point designs, that's enough. Well, is it? Is it really enough? Why can't we push boundaries? Why can't we blaze new trails and look at things? So I came up with the grips. Gone down, like, excuse the expression, a lead balloon in some quarters, but other places it's got amazing legs to it. Many people on the team obviously support it, and I believe it's next generation. It's something we've been looking at, and I've got fisheries and loads of other things backing out, including international awards. Same with stones, same thing. Do we really need to use man-made? If we use a stone, can we use it as a method feeder? Can we stain it with flavour? And all these kind of different things. And ultimately, all of this stuff resulted in my rules down here at Ashmansworthy Pools. And it doesn't shock me. Nothing shocks me anymore. But I have come in for some real keyboard warrior haters. And like I say, don't feel sorry for me, because you don't need to. In my old job, being in Crown Court, that was a little bit more hairy than seeing some idiot on a keyboard. But I was on the other side. I don't think I was getting arrested in Trent Crown Court. I was in the old bill. And so basically, I set up rules here. So I don't want lead in my water. And I also want my anglers who come here visiting to catch. So I insist on stones. If you owned water and you understood that lead destroys substrate life, which it does, can really cause damage, why would I want that just because the trade's telling me to use it? So hence, I'm going to get some grief. But, I don't understand why. Just leave me alone, or leave us alone, because there's thousands of us now involved with Palatrax, what we're doing here and abroad. So grips cause problems, stones cause problems, me having baits. Now, if you had your own, let's just say, in your garden, you had a koi pond, okay, just a little koi pond, 10 foot square, something like that, and you had 20 or 30 lovely koi in there, you looked after them, and suddenly strangers started coming up and just throwing stuff in there. Would you be happy with that? And I would suggest, if you've got, any inkling, you'd be going, no, that's not happening. I want to know what's in that, because I look at all this refined, accredited food source stuff that I'm feeding my koi, and I don't know what that is. And people say, yeah, but it's a pellet. And it's like, what kind of pellet? It could be a chicken feed pellet for all I know. And so that's why I've taken that position. It hasn't gone down, it hasn't gone down well, but in some quarters. And to be quite honest, I suppose the overall thing I find strange is, and again, not said with any arrogance, but it's my bat and my ball, and I know I'm doing this for the right thing for the visiting guests and for the basically everything around the venue, on the bank and in the water, and so by trying to move things forward and then implementing these rules, and I suppose, again, the irony is only I can do what I'm doing because I own Palatrax. So other fisheries could take that route of fishing stones and grips, but they're going to be in a more of a difficult position in regards to the baits. Most people now that come down here, because they're already aware of it, they know the baits work. We're all pre-baiting for each other, which is another very positive thing. But it is strange how when you try and advance the industry to the modern day issues and complications, that there is like this backlash, and I've got used to it. It's just a shame. That's the big thing for me. It's such a shame, because if we all work together, anglers and the industry and the fisheries, you know, we'd all be ploughing forward in a really, really positive way. And that's why the rules down at Ashmansworthy Pools are, yeah, they've got, you know, you've got to use my nets, slings and mats. I think that's a really good thing on two fronts. A, I'm not going to be open to biosecurity issues like KHV, but also the angler doesn't have to drag the kit down and then take it all wet and nasty and smelly and stinking a fish line back. You have to have access to antiseptic, spray and propolis. Now I supply that free of charge here, so it's there in the cabins for you to use, because I think we should basically look after the fish. And if we drag a fish out, let's just say it's got some spawning damage, where it's been grazing up against a rock or something like that, isn't it just the right thing to do to treat it? So that's my rules are in place, and they seem to go against a certain narrative out there, and I don't really understand why. I really don't understand why. Perhaps you can tell me. I mean, it's a strange one when you're sitting there going, well, I'm in a position now to innovate, move things forward, do it for the good things, for the angler, for the environment, and then you get that entity out there. And I just think it's because I'm challenging the status quo. I can't give you any other reason. You know, there's so many influential anglers who are fixated on their sponsors. I suppose I understand that. But at the end of the day, how much are we doing that we shouldn't be doing? And that's the question. Let me just go back to some of your questions. Rob's saying, when is the ban on dropping lead coming in force? Remember seeing something about it the other day. Yeah, that's again a frustration. You know, again, the haters have said, oh, you're just doing it because you're trying to flog stones. And if they knew the truth, they're all handmade. They're an absolute nightmare, but they are what they are. And that's why we're using them. So it's nothing to get. Just go and use non-toxic. Use a stainless steel nut. Just don't use lead. But the ECHA report is going through, I think it's over the 10th to the 12th of December. It's being basically finalised, and then there'll be a time when it goes into legislation, and then there's various things happening, like within 6 months of the legislation going live, the dropping of lead, these lead quick drop systems and things like that, they're going to be banned. And these are research scientists. And I think the real trouble over here for me, on top of, is the news isn't getting out, Rob. You know, nobody's telling you know, why isn't the EA telling everybody? Why isn't Angling Trust, Angling Trades Association saying, look, folks, lead's been proven to be really bad for the environment and for human health as well, on top of everything. Stop using it. But nothing. It's been nothing at all in the magazines or on anything. Nobody's saying anything. And that does my head in, to be quite honest, because I think that's reckless. That's reckless. It's not the angler's fault. And, you know, you could say ignorance is no defence. But when the whole industry pretty much as one is saying there's nothing wrong with lead, or we've coated it in plastic. But yeah, so across the 10th to the 12th, so 10th, 11th and 12th of December, they're finalising the last kind of implications, and then they're going to be setting it into stone. And I'm not one to sit here and crow and say, I told you so. All I sit here and say is, the damage that's been done in the 25 years that I've been fighting to get lead out fishing, and that's irretrievable. It's there, it's caused, and just, you have to question why. You have to question why. Cliff Dixon, I look at horses for courses. For example, where I fish, method works better at Wood Lane, PVA bag, got the constant edge everywhere. I fish for stones, grips and flavourings. Yeah, like you say, it's certainly horses for courses. But all I would say on top of that is it's all about, whether it's a PVA bag or whether it's a method, it does all come down to the ingredients, ultimately, to what impact it'll have. If you have poor ingredients, you can expect poor results. Good ingredients, you can expect better results. Thank you, Jason. 100% grips. Yeah, I'm you know, like I say, I didn't develop them and use them just to try and flog them. That's the last thing. I start off where I start off. Anti's saying, I use grips where I can. I find the big branded hooks just don't stay sharp for long. Well, there's a very, very good reason for that. And again, Anthony, the angling, like you know, now I'm involved in the trade, but the angling fraternity generally would not know that there's a hook manufacturing process called cutting point. So it's all to do with the point. And if you look at a grips face on, you'll see like it's an arrowhead shape. Now, cutting point is a really expensive way to get a hook manufactured. It's totally different than what I call a standard roll point. And with a cutting point, what comes is several benefits. The main ones being it's extremely sharp straight out of the packet, but also it's extremely durable. So you'll catch fish after fish after fish on the same hook. Now, that doesn't fit in with the industry because they seem to be happy for you to actually, catch one fish and then have to change out the hook or throw the rig in the bin and things like that, which doesn't work for me. I want a hook that I can rely on, and the only way I can rely on that is to get a cutting point. So if you don't have cutting point on your hook, it doesn't matter who brand you are. If you don't have it, you can't have the benefits of cutting point. And I'm with you. And again, this is nothing about promoting grips. Grips promote themselves. They are a different product, but I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair that anglers basically are now being told that, look, you're going to pay 60, 70, 80p for a hook, catch one fish or even dink it just on a bit of stone, and then you've got to throw it in the bin. I don't think that's right. These businesses are where they are because of people like you and I supporting them through buying their products and growing those companies. And I just think it's it can be quite shameful if, I might be wrong, but if people are just making things consumable now, so drop your lead, change your rig every cast, that kind of thing. I don't agree with it. Each to their own. What stop using lead paint? Jason's saying, we stop using lead paint for our health. Why should water? Yeah, exactly, Jason. The defence of lead is indefensible, and so these companies. The irony, I suppose, what will happen is we've got companies like Dinsmore, Evolve, Tackle, UFO. I noticed with Evolve, they got into Angling Direct. Angling Direct don't want to deal with us, but that's their own prerogative. But Evolve Tackle have gone in there and they're now promoting non-toxic, and I do have to assume that that's because Angling Direct is such a big company. They know that the lead ban's coming, and one of the things that is on the legislation is that every lead, and it's the same if you go to America, it comes with basically a cigarette packet warning, and it's along the lines of this product contains toxins known to create birth defects, brain disease, cancer, things like that. And so at the point of sale in every shop, you will now when this legislation goes through, if the UK embrace it, because we're not part of the European Union, they might just put two fingers up it and carry on doing what they're doing. But what I can't see is these major lead companies or major companies that have leads in their portfolio selling toxic lead in the UK and non-toxic across the whole of Europe, because the whole of Europe is going non-toxic. But yeah, it's a strange one, Jason. Charlie's saying, what are you saying here, Charlie? The proof is in the pudding. Look at how the fish are thriving at Ashman's pools. Look at the healthy, and I really emphasise the word healthy weight the fish are put on such a short amount of time. Lakes, fish and biomass are flourishing. And then thanks for acknowledging that, Charlie, because it's something me and Matt, the fishery manager, and others, we work really hard to do, at some cost. Because as I say, it's not like we're full every day of the week. Not that I want to be, but, just because, we've got rules that are focused on the water quality, focused on the biomass and substrate life. And by focusing on that, by design, we can expect, again, said with zero arrogance, but the plan is to get what's happening, which is to get the venue thriving with natural food sources, baits that are going in as supplementary food, not just for the fish, but for the substrate life. So in essence, the bait's fertilising substrate life. We're looking after the water quality. We're pushing water around as and when. We've got the, aerators. We've got the borehole. We've got all these things in place. Touch wood. It's designed. I don't know of any other fishery doing exactly what I'm doing. If they are, fantastic. But I do think if you're in a position to run a fishery the way I'm running a fishery, you cater for a lot of the risks that other fisheries may come across. So yeah, no, it is. It's great. It's great to see. I knew that big common was in there. You do. You sit there and think, well, hang on, where's that been then? And a year later it pops out at £38 9 ounces. I mean, that's fish. Don't get me wrong. I'm not into big fish to say, oh look, I caught a big fish, and I've caught plenty of big fish. A lot of times I don't fight anywhere near as hard as a 15-pounder or whatever. And I like catching different species as well. And I've got the perch here, but there's no doubt about it, a big, well-proportioned carp is pretty damn impressive, up close and personal. And our problem is now, I think we're getting too many fish, that are really going to push on. So we're going to have a serious think about how much stock we keep in Jack's pool, especially. So, so thanks for that, Charlie. What's Tony saying? And that's why you've achieved the results you have with fish quality, bait quality, and environment. Thank you very much, Tony. And it's a massive passion. I could open it up as a day ticket water tomorrow, having fish, 10, 15 fish up around the £30 and above. I mean, you get loads of people in, but it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same. And that's not what we're trying to do. So thanks, Tony. All fisheries enforce their own rules. You either accept them or go elsewhere. You make your reasons plain fish care. You only have to look at the quality of your stock. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I've this feature I've just written, and that's what I actually finished off with. It's if you've got a fishery or you're a steward of a water, it's your bat and your ball. I mean, the challenge is that there is some practices, if you research them, that are really, there's fisheries out there that insist that you drop the lead. I can't get my head around it. I don't know why that would happen. But at the end of the day, it's their bat, their ball, and if you don't like it, don't go there. And that's what I say to people here. If you're not into what I'm doing, that's fine. But you don't need to sit on your keyboard and, moan and groan and be a pathetic little individual. Just don't fish here. Because to be quite honest, and is this harsh to say I don't think so? I don't want people with that mindset fishing here. I want people who come down and kind of embrace the journey that we're on down at with Palatrax and Ashton's Withey Pools. But their bat, their ball, so you've got to abide by their rules. Where are we? I stopped using lead many years ago. At the end of the day, any true anglers is conservationists, so why chuck something poison into water? It is not rocket science. Yeah, well, I'm a bit like that, Adrian, but when you've got the whole industry telling everybody that you do it this way, it's frustrating, isn't it? This lead ban will, at some stage, come in. It won't make a jot of difference to angling, because there's so many non-toxic alternatives out there, like I've already highlighted. When non-toxic comes in, the price of those products will then come down. And so, yes, you could sit and say the carbon footprint of zinc is really bad, but it's certainly not as bad as the toxicity of lead. And so what will happen is this bump that should have been ironed out 30 years ago will dissipate, and people will be fishing on zinc and stainless steel and things like that. But the trouble is, we've got 30, 40 years of dumping of lead in our watercourses across the whole of Europe. And one water quality scientist said to me, what you've described to me is an environmental time bomb waiting to explode. And that's worrying words. That's worrying words. What's Logan saying? Grips and stones, definitely the way forward, no question. You look after your ponds with care, look at the results. Thank you very much, Logan. Yeah, I mean, and the truth is, forget me, depersonalise it. It's just common sense, isn't it? If you think about what I'm doing, it's nothing more than common sense. It's just that we've got an industry influencing and influencers influencing how fisheries are run. If you didn't allow baits, like the mainstream baits, anglers wouldn't go to those fisheries. I know one chap I know very, very well. He's got some fantastic lakes, and I talk to him, on a one-to-one, and though he totally understands what I'm saying, he still will just let any bait being used on there because he doesn't want people not to come to his fishery. I'm just different. I want people to come to my fishery for the right reasons, and I don't want to run that risk that you could have. Every year you see these massive oxygen crashes up and down the country in still waters, and it's not just killing one species of fish. It's wiping out everything in there, including the tadpoles or the newts and the frogs. Anything that survives in that water or lives in that water is killed. And you have to question why. Is it the bait? Is it all the bait rotting down and compromising the water quality? I personally believe there is certain instances out there when that happens. Looking forward to coming here, Tony Greenwood. Yeah, we're looking forward to having you down here, Donald. I think you'll like it. It's certainly we've got quite a bit of maintenance to do now, but let's get it all on top. What's Ian saying here? I keep pushing grips my syndicate rates so much, so I actually give anglers freebies at my expense. You're a star. When I do rig checks now, more than half the anglers are making a change or about to place orders. We just need them on the shelves. Yeah, I mean, well, the trouble is when you've got certain, like I say, entities out there, shops that just won't even entertain stocking any Palatrax products is a little bit different or a little bit difficult. But we're getting there, and a big part of that is down to Team Palatrax, without a shadow of a doubt. The incredible support we get, is fantastic. I think people know I wear my heart on my sleeve, know it's all about catching more fish, but doing it in a responsible manner, and that's not a bad thing to do. And I think you've only got to see the catch reports and the amount of, look at fisheries like Top Cats or Lowy Jungle, Carp Society, Gold Lake, Blue Pool, Burfield. These venues are coming on board because it makes sense, and it does. So yeah, you keep on pushing them, Ian, you keep on pushing, and that's the way. You can't get better than why not have a lead-free angling page along with Dinsmore's of old? Not a bad idea, not a bad idea. I think that'll probably come as well. So what's here we have here? The other company from Darren here. The other companies know the banning of lead is coming, so why don't they start manufacturing lead-free weights like Palatrax Evolve instead of arguing about it? Are they that stupid? Well, I won't comment on the last thing, but I think you probably know what my thoughts are. From what I understand, they've all got access to non-toxic now. But what you're going to have is I suppose a battle. The major companies will go non-toxic, in my humble opinion, because they'll have to. Because if not, they'll be going up against all of the facts from the Echo report, which is saying that lead's dangerous. So that's not a good look for them. But where I think the biggest problem and the knee-jerk negative reaction is through all of these people making lead in their sheds. And ironically, that's one of the major reasons they're banning the making of lead, because it's unregulated. So you can't just go and make a zinc fishing weight. You need huge temperatures, specialised equipment. I think it's 3,600 degrees centigrade. Whereas you can melt a lump of lead over a stove in your outside. I certainly wouldn't advise doing it full stop. But I think we're going to see some interesting times, and it's going to be interesting how fisheries deal with it. Because it's going to percolate out there that this is not good. The thing is, most fishery owners I speak to, they think it's just disappeared into the mud. And they go, it's nothing down there, we can't see anything. But it's in the mud, and that's where all the substrate life leads. So if you think of bloodworm being the best example, or the easiest example, that's where they live. They live in the substrate. And consequently, nothing can live on or immediately adjacent to lead. It's one of nature's toxins. So you get all these little dead zones everywhere. And that is my major problem. There's loads of other levels, like I say, the health issues with children and other considerations. But I think it'll take a while to come home. But the more of us that's speaking for the right point, and that's why I'm saying I'm the first to say, to shout out, we'll just go and use Evolve. Or get a stainless steel nut and a pillar drill and put a hole in it and then put a swivel in it. Hey ho, you've got a weight which is totally inert and it's got a hole in the middle so you can press method or paste into it. Because that's what I'd be using if I wasn't using stones. The fact is, stones is that a unique angling tactic because it's natural. So there we go. Right, Cliff Dix, jointing Palatrax, and after listening to you, I now look at packaging on bait to see its feed certificate on it. I have ditched a lot of the baits I used to use, and 3 other companies to show regulations. Then look after the fish, and you get good sport for years. And that's what you're true there, Cliff. We're about looking after the generations to come, not the now. It's literally what we do now is going to impact on the future of our sport. That's why we need more proactive initiatives to get more kids into the fishing and things like that. And and James Stinson's probably the guy that knows the most that I know of about regulations on baits. And there are so many bait companies out there that aren't regulated. They've not gone through that transition to sign up to be animal feed registered and things like that. They're just not doing it. And you have to question why. But because I question why, people then get the hump. And it's like, well, should you be getting the hump? Well, I think we as anglers should be getting the hump, or fishery owners should be getting the hump. There we go. Where are we going? Stephen here. Oh, dear me. Stephen Smith, first time I've listened to your live feed, really enjoyed it. Thanks, Steve. That's very kind of you, Stephen. I do hope, we don't get thousands of people on here, but I promise you I'm here for all the right reasons. And you've got any questions, always just shout out to me. Right, I am coming to the end. Let's just say, what have we got here? Adrian Lane. Anglers were persecuted in the 1980s over the deaths of swans and wildfowl due to lead. And they certainly were. 1987 it was banned. Anything under an ounce should be made of non-toxic material. Chelsea's saying to Cliff, what other 3 do you use? Always looking for backups for bait. So there we go. I know people like CC Moore's, Dynamite. James will know off the top, like quick as a flash. Like I'm sure DNA and people like that. There's some good accredited bait companies out there. In all honesty, what I will just say about my baits is they're not an angling bait. I'm making them as a biomass food source. So everything eats it, including the fish, and I'm then just shaping it. Obviously, we're squabs through and through now, because that's such an anti-eject shape. But, I'm using a lot of the things I use actually come from fish farming, and fish farming is very, very highly regulated. And if you can replicate that kind of ethos, I think you're a lot safer. Right, my time has come. I've gone past my 8 o'clock. Keith will tell me off because it mucks up. So who's going to win? Let me just turn my jobby around. So that has already been won. So who's going to win? Let me try and grab it all. So this little bundle of stuff for tonight's live feed draw. It is, dun dun dun, drum roll, Donald Sage. Well done, Donald. If you're still here, sir, you have won tonight's live feed draw. Please ping me your address on Facebook Messenger. And we will get it out to you. If not, I will hunt you down and find you, sir, and get you your prize. So well done, Donald. Right, folks, that's another Sunday slot live feed. I will be here back on the main Paratrax page next week. Then it's Top Cats, so you'll see me and Keith over in Top Cats, hopefully catching a few. And we'll try and do some live feeds from there. It'll be a bit disjointed because of the time distance difference. And then when we come back, we'll be looking at moving, might do it this year, I'm not too sure, but moving the live feeds across to a Wednesday, so I can go back to choir practice on a Sunday, something like that, any road. But thanks for keeping me company as always. I really appreciate it. And any questions on this feed or anything else for that matter, you know where I am. You can always get hold of me on Messenger or just bell through to the office. If I can't get back to you straight away, I will get back to you, I promise. And onwards and only upwards. And as always, thanks for all the support. Stay safe, folks. Have a fantastic week. All the best.